Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig.
And I'm Sam.
And today, this is a different video for you guys. This is Sam's army showcase of his 30K Iron Warriors.
That is correct, the 4th Legion.
So, before we get too far into this, a few things to say. One, pardon my voice. As you can tell, it's dying. I'm okay. It's just a cracky voice, but we want to do this video and show off Sam's army, so we're not going to stop for a little bad voice. This, like our last army showcase, has been, it's just going to sit down and we're going to talk about Sam's army. We're going to ask him some questions. We'll show you some close-ups of all of these models and just kind of get to know one of the big armies that you guys will see here on the channel throughout all of our battle reports.
Yep.
So, without further ado, let's go over the first little bit. So just tell me a little bit about this army, how many points it is, some of the key things you want to make sure you note about it, and go from there.
Definitely. So this is my primary army. It is about 10,000 points. I have been collecting this army since I was in college. The bug bit me. I was playing regular Space Marines at the time, and I had gotten the Betrayal at Calth box to build onto what at the time was an army of Space Sharks. But I was kind of thinking I didn't really like the way they were playing. I wasn't enjoying painting them as much. And I had this big box of 30K models, and I thought, well, you know what I really do like? I like the Horus Heresy, and I like Iron Warriors.
All right.
So I am going to start playing 30K Iron Warriors. So it started with just 2 squads of Mark IV Tactical Marines, the 2 characters, the Terminators, and the Contemptor Dreadnought that came in that box, and it's just exploded from there. I've added the contents of another Betrayal at Calth box, plus just anything else I can get my hands on.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you said 10,000 points. Is that 30K points or 40K points?
Yeah, it's in 30K points.
It's 30K points.
So for those of you who don't know, 30K or Age of Darkness is kind of a subsidiary of 40K that's produced by Forge World. It operates off of a version of the 7th edition 40K rule set referred to as Age of Darkness. So this is, it's 10,000 points using the 30K rule set. I haven't done the math to figure out how many 40K points it is.
Everything,
a lot.
Yeah, everything doesn't perfectly convert over 1-to-1 in 40K. Plus, we've got the new rules hopefully coming out by the end of this year. So Sam will probably be covering everything we need to know about that when it comes out.
Yep.
So look forward to that in the future. So you say you've been collecting it since college, so that's about 6 years for you now?
Yep. I really started going ham on it. I was stuck in Brookings, South Dakota one summer because of an internship I had to do for school, and so I really, I worked at Walmart and I did my internship, and outside of that, Brookings, South Dakota is not a particularly exciting town. So I just had basically a whole summer to work on these guys, build them, paint them, get them ready to go, and it's just gone from there. I take a lot of breaks in building, so there have been some gaps and lulls where I haven't added anything, and then I'll go into a sudden burst of activity and build 30 more Tactical Marines. But yeah, it's grown leaps and bounds, and it's been a good time the whole time. I really enjoy fielding any amount of them, even if it's just a couple tactical squads all the way to my full complement of super heavies and flyers and dreadnoughts.
Very nice. So there are a lot of models here.
Correct.
What is your favorite one out of all of these?
So that is a hard question. It's like asking me to pick my favorite kid. If I had to split it down, my favorite models, I can't say favorite model.
Okay, models.
Models. The first would be my Malkador. I really love this model. It's an Imperial Guard vehicle, or in 30K, it's Cults and Militia. But Space Marines, using the Crusade Imperialis army list, have the ability to basically take any super heavy vehicle that any Imperial army can take, basically just to represent back in 30K, Space Marine legions were enormous and had access to material resources that the chapters of today could only dream of having. So this is just a, Imperial Guard vehicle, essentially, that I've taken, I've converted, I put a pintle-mounted heavy bolter on there, I put a Space Marine crewman in there, and now it's just a model I really enjoy. I like the look of it. It's boxy. Craig compared it to a boat.
A little bit of a boat shape, yeah.
Yeah, but it's got like kind of an angular aesthetic that I think really fits in with the trench warfare style of the Iron Warriors.
Awesome.
Yeah. My other favorite model, obviously, would have to be my Fellblade, the big boy, the Space Marine Baneblade. I don't get to take this guy nearly as much as I'd like, but it's always fun whenever I do. It's easily the biggest model I've built, barring maybe my Knight. But it's just, it's big, it's sexy, it's got a bubble turret that I love, it's like a T-55, and it's nasty on the tabletop. It's definitely one of those iconic Space Marine super heavies that doesn't see as much play as I'd like, because unfortunately in 8th edition, or 9th edition, its rules aren't that great, and it's kind of expensive to take.
Yeah, what is it, like 800 points or something?
Yeah, plus you have to pay 3 command points, I think, to take it. There are a lot of taxes on its use.
Yeah.
But yeah, so other than that, my other favorite model, this will be my last one that I'll pick, is my Xiphon.
Okay.
The Xiphon Interceptor, I'm sure Craig will show some close-ups, but there's a lot of detail shots in there that I really like. The cockpit is fully detailed. I created a custom emblem by combining a couple decals, so he's got like a sweet, skull and eagle like campaign badge. He's got kill tallies all up the side of the fuselage. Mm-hmm. It's a super sexy, super sleek and aerodynamic model that it's kind of the opposite of the Malkador. This is boxy and slow, and the Xiphon is sexy and fast and aerodynamic. So I like having the contrast. Plus, they're super good at killing other flyers, which is something that, in game terms, my army really struggles with. I don't have a whole lot of anti-air.
Are flyers common in 30K?
Flyers are fairly common in 30K. Plus, as I'm sure you remember, flyers, if you don't have anti-aircraft weaponry, flyers are essentially impossible to kill.
Right, back in 7th, yeah.
In 7th edition, you have to hit them on 6s. So. Barring dedicated anti-aircraft weapon, they're impossible to bring down. So my Xiphon is there to swat those pesky flyers out of the sky.
Very nice. All right, few more questions. Mm-hmm. Are you going to continue to add to this collection? And if so, what are you going to add? What do you want? What is it missing?
Well, so the thing is, I was just telling Craig this before we started filming. As long as Forge World continues to make 30K stuff, I will continue to add. And even if they stop, I'll probably continue to add to it. This is my perpetual forever army. I'm always tweaking it and fine-tuning it and adding, a new assault squad or a new type of vehicle. I've got right now on the chopping block a Sakaran Venator and a Fire Raptor that are still in the planning stages. So I'm always going to be adding to it. But if I had to pick something specifically that I would add, honestly, it would probably be either more dreadnoughts, because I love dreadnoughts. I think they're super cool, and they're also good in 30K. So I would add more Contemptor dreadnoughts, more Deredeo dreadnoughts, maybe another Leviathan, or I would add more super heavies, more Fellblade chassis vehicles, because there are a couple other variants like the Glaive and the Falchion that I would like to get my hands on, as well as the Spartan chassis ones. I have one Typhon right now, but I'd love to get maybe another Typhon because it's super thematic and powerful for Iron Warriors, or there's one that replaces the big giant Dreadhammer siege cannon with like a big laser. I'd like to get one of those as well. So, plus just more tactical Marines, more grist for the mill. The rumors have come out, the pictures have leaked. There's allegedly a new 30K plastic box set coming out. So at the very least, I'm going to need to add the full contents of that box to this army, regardless of what's in it, regardless of any scale changes. I just got to get them. I got to get my hands on anything 30K.
Because that gives you the plastic Spartan, right? Supposedly?
Yes, the plastic Spartan. So The land, dangerous. The Land Raider's big brother. I would love to have another one of those too, because I also have a lot of Terminators, and Terminators can ride 10 to a Spartan, or 20 tactical Marines to a Spartan. You can transport a whole 20-man tactical squad in one of those things. So I'm excited. I can't wait for that box to come out.
Another question. Is there anything with what you've done painting-wise, conversion-wise, that you would change if you were to start this army over from square one?
Yeah, so when I started the army, it's very evident to tell which models I started with. I was using a different technique back then when I was still in college. I was doing base coat black with spray paint, hand brushing on the silver, and the refinement of my technique, I guess I should say. My precision in painting hazard stripes was not as good as it is now, so I would definitely like to go back on some of my Terminators from back then and some of my Tactical Marines from back then and kind of redo them and bring them up more in line, because since then I've gotten an airbrush. I figured out some paints that really work well outside of the Games Workshop umbrella. So my speed in painting, my efficiency in painting, and the overall finish has improved a lot. And I would love to go back and maybe touch up some of those models.
Very nice. I know airbrushing can make a big difference. That's the one area that I haven't dabbled in yet. I haven't really had a setup to want to do airbrushing, but to do airbrushing successfully though on Tyranids it'd be a game changer too. So,
but yeah, for these guys, even if you're not doing fancy gradients or masking and color shifting and all the crazy stuff you can do with an airbrush. If all you do is base coat, that's a perfectly valid use of an airbrush. It's sped up my ability to batch paint, 30 Tactical Marines, whereas it used to be a laborious process of taking my brush and covering each one in silver. I can just go boop, 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 and you can get 10 guys at once. Makes it so much easier.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds very cool. Now, the base on these guys is more of a mud base. Yeah. What is your inspiration behind that?
Well, so for those of you who are familiar with the 40K lore, you know that the Iron Warriors are the siege masters, the siege breakers, the ones who were called in to break sieges, uncompliant planets who needed to be ground down through bloody attrition. The Iron Warriors were the master of that style of warfare. So I wanted their bases to represent that and to make it look like they're all slogging through the mud of some, planet during the Great Crusade or the Horus Heresy.
Very cool.
Oh my God, I forgot to mention that they were Loyalists.
That was the next question I was going to go to. You play these in 30K and in 40K as Loyalists. So why Loyalist and not their true traitor?
So again, this is another really cool detail about the Iron Warriors that I love. So when the Iron Warriors were taking part in the Great Crusade, they were often split up into small units and sent off to garrison various planets and basically cut off from lines of communication with the wider Imperium, basically just told to sit here and hold this planet until somebody comes to get you or you get orders otherwise. So there are lots of examples in the lore of Loyalist Iron Warriors who were so disconnected from their parent legion that when someone came and told them, hey, we're fighting the Emperor now, they said, no, we're not. So there are, two examples. There's Barbas D'Antioch, who most of you know. He's a character in the Black Library. Or Kair Valen, who I actually have a converted model up in front. I'm sure we'll get some close-ups of him. Yeah. Who basically came out of the warp and found the Alpha Legion attacking a planet and didn't know why they were attacking the planet, but he knew that the planet was loyal and the Alpha Legion were traitors. So he basically just rammed the Alpha Legion capital ship with his own ship. And figured out the rest later, and then decided that Perturabo was a traitorous bastard who needed to be put to the sword. So I've channeled that inspiration. Even though I do have Perturabo, it's impossible to have a big 30K army like this without having the Primarch.
Sure.
You just got to do it. You owe it to them. So I've got my 2 Loyalist Warsmiths. One is to represent Kair Valen, who actually does have rules in 30K. The other is just a custom converted model I made. His name is Teleclus. He was the HQ model that I used before. I interchangeably use them as captains or chapter masters in 40K. And I have a soft spot for Teleclus. He was one of those models I converted while I was in college, and even though his paint job and his age start to show, especially compared to Kair Valen, I still like him a lot.
That's cool. I didn't know that little detail with the Alpha Legion.
Yeah, it's one of
all that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite stories. I think it's in the third Horus Heresy book from Forge World. He came out of the warp and they just shot at him, and then he survived the initial bombardment and didn't have time to do anything else, so he just powered up the fusion reactors on his ship and smashed into the Alpha Legion capital ship before it could get out of the way.
Wow, that's awesome. So I think that is all of the questions I have for you. Of course, you guys will be seeing some close-ups of all of these models we've been talking about, and we'll leave you with maybe a few close-ups and some pans here and there. Anything else you want to mention before we end this one up?
Definitely. 30K is still very much alive despite rumors to the contrary. There are thriving and active communities all over the internet. You just have to find them. Here in the Twin Cities, we have an awesome group that meets on a one-on-one basis to play games of 30K at game stores, and then sometimes we'll do whole weekend-long narrative events, which are super cool. At the last one I was at, we had 3 Titans on the table, plus at least, I think, 10 Super Heavies. So the game is still alive, the game is out there. It's obviously not as popular as 40K, but it's still a really cool, really fun rule set that is definitely doesn't get as much attention as I think it deserves. So if it interests you at all, take a look, talk around, see if you can find anybody who plays it, and definitely think about starting an army. It's a really cool way to play Space Marines, because 30K Space Marines are so divorced from the way that 40K Space Marines work. They have completely different organizational tenets. Tactical squads work completely different. Legion rules are really in-depth and unique. Rights of War, which is kind of the equivalent of formations in 7th edition, are not broken in 30K, or at least not as broken as formations were. And those can even further change the way that you play your army. Each legion has their own unique rights of war. I play this as the Hammer of Olympia, which is an Iron Warrior one that focuses on grinding waves of infantry and tanks. So take a look, read the rules, see if you like it, and consider playing it. Consider starting an army. You'd make me happy.
We might cover it on the channel once the new rule set and everything comes out. You'll probably cover some videos.
Right.
Don't know how much we'll get games in, because this is all we have.
Right.
In terms of an army.
I am unfortunately the only one in the group who has a 30K army, but maybe that'll change. Who knows?
Maybe it'll
Probably
change.
not.
Maybe we'll get a studio army of something that works, but that's okay. You can play these for 30K, and for our viewers, you'll probably see them as 40K Space Marines, and we'll do everything we can to at least make them up to par on power level. But this is a 30K army true at heart, so we don't want to take away from that playstyle too much.
Yeah, you've probably noticed I shy away from really anything Primaris or anything new. Really anything that came out after the 5th edition Codex, barring Contemptor Dreadnoughts, I pretty much don't include my army just because it doesn't fit.
Yeah, that's all right. That's the way it is. So this has been 10,000 points in 30K of Loyalist Iron Warriors. Gotta make sure I get that right. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions for Sam, put in the comments and he'll respond to them. Let him know what you think of this army and maybe what you want to see from the army in the future here on the channel, from him, from us, from everything.
Definitely.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.